Hi, Isha. I am going to get you started on this problem, and I know it's a marked assignment, and so I don't want to do too much of it for you, and you do have until Friday, so I'm hoping that if I can get you started on it, that once you get sort of going, that you'll see the next steps and so on. And if you do get stuck again, feel free to get in touch with me before Friday, and I'll help you get going again on it, okay? So if we look at the information that we're given in this problem, one of the things we can do is assign variables. We are given some information about the time in hours and some speeds and things like that. And so if we assign the variable x to represent the time spent walking along the level part of the path, and y can be the time spent in the uphill portion, and z can be the time spent in the downhill portion. Let's put a DH for downhill and make that a shortcut. Okay, so we know the total amount of time that's spent, don't we? Because it goes from 9 o'clock till 3, and so that's 8 hours. And so we can start with an equation that represents these variables in terms of the total time spent on this walk, okay? Now we also know that distance is equal to velocity times time. So if you're traveling 50 kilometers an hour for 2 hours, you would travel 100 kilometers and so on. And so we could come up with a second equation in terms of the distance traveled by this person, because we are given the velocities for the different types of terrain. And so we have for level ground, I think it's 6 kilometers an hour. And then for uphill, it's 4.5. And for downhill, it's 9. And so we have a distance equation that we've got written here. So we have 2 equations so far. Now, a third equation to think about in terms of the information that you're given here is if you notice that uphill is 4.5 kilometers an hour, but downhill is 9 kilometers an hour. There's a relationship there. We know also that the distance uphill must be equivalent to the distance downhill, because you're coming down the exact same path according to the instructions in the question. So we could almost include that as an equation 3, that 4.5y must be equivalent to 9z. So solving for y there, we would get y equals 9 over 4.5 times z, or is it y equals 2z? So if you want to then put that into the equation, in both cases, you can use it to simplify this equation, and you can use it to simplify this equation. Then I think you're going to find that it is much easier to solve this equation to find the distance. When you have those 2 equations simplified using the y equals 2z relationship, then I think you're going to find that you can solve for distance quite easily from those 2 formulas, and that will give you the answer to the first part of your problem, okay? Then for your second part, like I said, if you can go from there and play around with what you've got so far, I don't think that you can find an exact answer for part 2. I think that there's you can get close and within a certain range, but that without more information, I don't think that you can find an exact answer for the second part of the question. If you get stuck on that part and you want some more help with that later in the week, then feel free to email me back, okay? All right.